horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
Hello, and a big warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday Sermon. My name is Lee Keys, and joining me as always, my two partners in crime to discuss the week's events and all your questions, it's Chris and John Lane. Good evening, chaps.
Good evening.
Evening, everyone.
Yeah. Now, John, today was the Baden spectacle with the pre-gross Baden Gold Cup. And I was disappointed to see no UK involvement, it was all Germans. It kind of just disappointed me. In fact, there was no UK involvement at the French tracks either, which we mentioned on Friday.
I think it's a rather sad reflection on where we're at, where we're not only lacking strength and depth at home, we're lacking the horses to send abroad.
Well,
the home group, like Group 3 races are looking pretty thin, and it's probably harder sending horses for a German group race than it is staying at home now.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth plenty of money, that Von Baden.
Oh, that's utterly Von Baden, isn't it?
It is. I mean, Baden's that good, they have to say it twice. I mean...
New York.
yeah. And another thing today that upset me, really, this did upset me, and I didn't know.
Jimmy Buffett's dead?
No, well, worse.
Oh.
Alderflug is dead in 2021, I never knew.
Yes.
Did you know?
Who's dead? What's dead?
Yes, I somehow had to come to terms with it, yeah.
Alderflug, it's John's system, especially at Art Weekend. Yeah, John
you said Michael Aspord died. Phew, thank God. Carry on, yes, Alderflug.
Yeah. Or even Anne Diamond.
Yeah, well, Anne Diamond's 68 years old, though, so, she's got a few more years left in her, I think.
How many active sexually, Chris?
Am I active sexually? Well, you're propositioning me. I'm not that sort of girl.
He was with the wasting.
Buy me some of that Marks and Spencer's fucking meat, and you might be in luck,
Yeah.
But not until then. Anyway, yes, carry on. Yes, your German system.
The Alderflug system, which John employs in the autumn, the Longchamps art meeting, and he's often done very well with it, like massive price German-bred slop beasts. Obviously, Alderflugs love that kind of shit. And I just never knew. It just passed me by. 2021, Alderflug is no more. R.I.P. That broke me down today, I didn't like that. I like the Alderflugs. I like when John comes up with some big prices. And John, they're going to get thinner on the ground now.
Yeah, I'm going to have to make hay while the sun shines, are they really,
I think
get
so.
Stuck in this autumn.
Yeah, Neil Tolson did a rant on the questions thread, and he said, and this is the sort of theme of the show, really, but he said, sad day, 2 Group 1s in France and Germany, worth over 200,000 to the winner, no UK involvement, as we said, and he thanks the BHA for supervising the decline of our sport, the Bet Gaming Council for stripping the industry financially bare, and Gambling Commission for restricting betting to reduce the levy.
That's up to all those lads.
I think that's the show done. We might all say that's all from us. Bye for now.
It's managed decline. What was it? Was it Heseltine and all those characters about Liverpool?
Thatcher over Liverpool.
Yeah, it's managed decline, isn't it? It's it's sort of the stewardship of the demise of the sport. We'll make sure it sort of run it into the ground in an orderly fashion.
But this is it, right? The question then has to be, and this is the right question. Why do punters see it? Our timeline is full of punters saying this. We've said it on pods. It seems like a sabotage, if you like. But the powers that be are doing absolutely nothing whatsoever to alter the path of the ship, the good ship, UK horse race.
And us, we all love racing and understand it.
Yeah.
The people at the BHA couldn't give a flying shit about racing. It's just a good career move. The alternative is usually teaching or the priesthood. That's where they send the useless kids, isn't it? These old money back.
Yeah. I'm slightly more charitable than John about the BHA. I just think a lot of it, most of it, is incompetence. You just don't know what you don't know. So I'm sure they think they're doing a really good job. I'm sure they think they're working hard, but because they don't have any pedigree or understanding or love for the sport, this is why they can't fathom why they are sort of charting the boat off the edge of the fucking world. That's the problem. They don't know what they don't know, and they will say, like a lot of politicians now, people that sort of push back against the sort of prevailing narrative. Well, we're populists, we're sort of noisy plebs, and we accept that we do operate to some extent in our own echo chamber, don't we? We get lots of feedback from people, but that's because people follow us who agree with us, so they're going to sort of reinforce our own views. So we're not kidding ourselves to say that everyone feels like us, but you'd think someone somewhere would at least pick up on a little bit of dissent and run with it, but they don't seem to care. And I just think
you mentioned the mud at source, Chris. If anybody went to High Holborn and said, "Hey, I've been listening to this podcast, they've got some cracking at it," honest to God, they'd be out that door quicker than shit over a shiny shoe.
That's a nice image. Yeah, you're right, and I don't know. I mean, I've worked in lots of large sort of public organisations and semi-public ones, and they're all the same. That they have a culture, and they are all working, I suppose, out of a sense of good faith. So I don't think anyone is there to actively undermine the sport. I don't think there are any fifth columnists, but they are so lacking in understanding, like the Gambling Commission, who think they're doing a great job, but they can't see what everyone else can see, which is that they don't know what they're doing, and that's where we're at.
They don't seem to care about the patrons of the sport. I'm not about necessarily the trainers.
The punting scum, that's what it is, isn't it?
The bottom end that basically fund the levy, which are the punters. And this is what worries me, that the punters are really having their say on social media about all this, but it's like screaming beneath the waves. There's absolutely nothing apart from sort of meeting the Horse Betters Forum, which I believe that the Horse Betters Forum have got some kind of meeting with the powers that be coming up. Apart from that,
they've more or less accepted affordability checks, haven't they? I mean, if ever a medal for useless organisation, I mean, that is it. It cannot possibly be representative of punters.
No, it isn't. And the problem we've got, and we, know thyself, we are not viewed, or people like us, not us, but people like us are not viewed as credible by the powers that be, because we F and blind. We have a sort of a light-hearted approach to it. So we're not going to be the sort of people that they will afford access to in terms of dialogue. So in order to talk to these people, you have to look and sound like them. And, people like us who share our views, we're just not viewed as credible. People may very well listen to us, but they'll, press the pause button and go, "Cool, they're fucking out of idiots, aren't they?" Which they may well be right. They may be right, but we don't look or sound or present our arguments in the way that you have to get these people interested, and that's the problem. That's the core of the issue, I think.
I could see a meeting going down with John Lane.
Exactly.
The direction that they're taking us in, and obviously they refuse to sort of get out of bed with the big corporation bookmakers, if you like, which is what's hamstringing the industry into basic slavery. The industry are slaves to big corp now. It's not the other way around. It's not, we the British horse racing are slaves to Flutter, Entain and Port Vale. It's that simple. There seems to be no way out of that, or the BHA aren't interested in taking us maybe in a different direction, maybe call the bluff. They need, right, despite all the big courts' protestations about, horse racing is a lost leader, they need horse racing in to get them into the shops to play the fruit machines. That's what it's all about. The thing is, pods like us and punters on social media can see this. We can see it all. We can see it all unfolding in front of us. We know what's going to happen. They don't seem to.
They respect us because of the way we frame our argument, because the way we speak with, I hate the word, but passion, etc. We're not playing by their rules. Their rules dictate that you've got to frame your argument. You've got to look and sound in a certain way, and that's the problem. And that's why they're not listening, because we're not viewed as credible, because we don't look and sound like these people. We're not from the same background.
Indeed. And coming to, it's like Groundhog here on a lot of our pods, but obviously a lot of the bones of contention are ground at meetings. And Cooper Clarke, who I have praised this season for doing a much better job than I think than what he's done in the past. I think the 5 mils at Sandown caught Sandown out a bit the day before. A lot of people saying, "Oh, Sandown ground wasn't good to firm. It was good to soft." I'd be kind of maybe say it was slow side of good, but it wasn't the ground that you were probably, and myself, was expecting how it rode on Saturday. Would you agree with that, John?
I think the way he described it, it probably gave away the fact that they're still washing the shit out of bends.
Yes. Yeah, they're frightened of slipping up, basically, aren't they? Which, that's correct.
So much answer, man.
Well, that's what they... Yeah, this is it. I mean, well, the thing is, we had one comment disagreeing with us on the York ground, saying that I didn't get the loving with the York ground, as hardly any horses went on it. Again, this is all like hypotheses. How do we know how many go on unwatered slop? Watered slop, where it knocks the top off. Like you said, John, how do we know how many actually act on that? It's the same argument, isn't it?
Well, I think all you do is, again, that your best rule of thumb is write down all the winners on the July course in a year and just stripe them when it comes to studying any other races on any other courses. And that's how you find that out. That's a good starter for 10 anyway, isn't it?
To be fair, I was surprised no one mentioned this. This is worse than Sandown, but because it's not as high a profile meeting. Thirsk, of course, have no going stick, which is convenient. And so
They put it in the house plant to keep them straight. The rubber plant.
Yeah. Tie the old cheese plant that Rob Davis.
Yeah, exactly. I was doing that earlier today, and that's what made me think maybe I've got it. Maybe I've got the going stick. I'll replace it for them. That's the thing.
Did Mel Britton snap it?
Mel Britton absolutely loathed Thirsk and the watering of that bend. He said, in fact, John, well, I'll let you say it, John. You say what Mel said.
Well, he used to play hell about the washing of the bend at Thirsk. And he did so until he ended up losing one on the bend at Thirsk.
Yeah.
And after that, I mean, if anybody was ever on a holy jihad to stop washing the bends at courses, it was poor Al Melvin.
Yeah.
He was absolutely incandescent about what was going on there.
Well, look at Goodwood, for example. The bends. What happened? They had to abandon racing, because of the bends. There's been numerous tracks over the last couple of seasons that have had to abandon racing throughout a day due to slippery bends. Now, that has to be the water content, etc. Now, so the reason I think York get it right is I've never had to recall York having to abandon a meeting because of bends, and because they don't overwater, and I think that's the key argument here. Like John said in past shows regarding data on injuries, and Stuart Williams, friend of the show, will back us up on this. He doesn't like the July course, the amount they put on. He says that injuries wise, it could be worse. We haven't got data to prove it either way, but the same people and watering zealots that say, "Oh well, firm ground's dangerous." How do you know that watered ground, where it's just knocking the top off, and so they could twist the tendons, stuff like that? How do we know that's not dangerous? There's no data either way to back either up. So basically, we're all pissing in the wind, arguing over what's probably safer ground. For me, York get it spot on because, some won't go on it, but that's the thing. They won't let themselves down on it. So that's good, isn't it?
Well, I think the answer to the fella's point when he said he doesn't get the loving over York, he should ask himself how many people during the week were chuntering or being able to pick a bet out due to the going. I don't think there was many people at all.
No,
everybody seemed to crack on, pick one, punt one, so on and so forth, repeat to exhaustion. Yeah. Whereas nearly every other big festival meeting this year, one of the biggest talking points the night before any of the days is, what do you think the fucking ground will be tomorrow?
Calvin himself, on when he does his spaces and pods, he he's always ranting about it, saying, "No, well," and this is the thing. I mean, Thirst, for example, just to put it in context with Sandown. So Thirst said, "Good to firm in places." Right, that's the official ground before race 1. They changed it to good. Well, that's nice of them. The actual ground on Tynes was good to soft in places.
Yeah.
So that's a disgrace. The absolute disgrace. That is so far out that, like I say, it's so frustrating from a punting point of view.
But you despair at what's going in the farm boat, don't you?
Yeah, the bet I had, or the decent bet I had on Cosmic Soul to win the staying race at Thirst that day, obviously I'd got on good to firm in places. They'd had a shower, which produced, I think, 2 mils. That's all. Not in the morning. It's the fact that so I backed an all See the Stars Invincible Spirit mare for the reasoning that I want this to go off at least good ground, and it's not. It's gone off as soft as what it's ran on in the last 2 races, which takes my reason away for the bet. So this is it. You're dealing with fools really, and that run the sport, that run these courses, and in general. So Cooper as well needs his fair share of flack when he gets it wrong. I'm sick and tired of hearing this. Well, it's too fast. But I suppose trainers have the power because they can withdraw the runners and make these 8-runner races turn into 4-runner races, John.
Again, trainers are very reluctant to ring an owner up and say, "Look, I can't train this, it's a fucking raspberry." They'd rather keep plodding on, taking the training fee and running it on overwatered slop just because they can keep going with them.
Well, this is it. Right, we're going to move on from ground and Van Baarden and talk. Yeah, Van Baarden. And talk about a little bit about affordability and the Gambling Commission. And it was interesting this week. We saw an ITV racing for the first time. Well, I have. I mean, I don't watch ITV racing regular, but it's the first time it's been brought to my attention. I'm sure someone would have seen it and posted it before. But Lee Mottershead was on talking about affordability with Ollie Bell on the morning line. Now, I find that interesting. Yeah, do you know why I find that interesting? Because don't forget who sponsors ITV and ITV racing. It's big major bookmakers.
Yeah.
So I found this extremely surprising because obviously we've all been moaning that this hasn't got any coverage and they all just talk about gin and dresses and shit like that.
I think the thing is, though, Lee, I think there's enough big name, high profile people on the ITV team. If there was a consensus that wanted to cover this, I don't think they'd be afraid to make a bit of a stink if Big Corp was trying to get them not to. I think there's enough personality power, shall we call it.
Yeah.
They can cover what they want, I think.
Chris, can I have my Bob Lazar section?
Yeah, please do. We're waiting for that. We want a little bit of.
It's like a weekly foil bit, isn't it?
We should get him on. I'm sure he'll do out for a few quid. I mean, he invested in a fucking whorehouse, didn't he, in Nevada, which he got time for or got fined for. So he's bound to come on here, isn't he?
Yeah. So this is my Bob Lazar moment, where I think that there could be a bit of a U-turn coming. First 6 months of the year, Flutter and Entain. Oh no, is it 8? I think it's Flutter. Yeah, Flutter and Entain have reported very good yields, very good profits. Now, and as we rightly questioned, how can that be if you're trying to help the addicts? Because they're the ones that give you all the money. Have they finally got to a stage where they've weeded out all the unprofitable accounts, all the the people that take the piss and the accounts that are no good to them, and they've said, right, well, we don't want affordability now. Yeah,
because they might be in danger of weeding out the people that's providing the profits.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, with ITV getting that moment, and I'm thinking, if this starts to escalate on ITV, my Bob Lazar foil hat theory could be true. They can
portray themselves as punters champions, can't they?
Yes.
They overturned the terrible juggernaut that was, destined to decimate racing, and they stepped in and saved the day. Hurrah! And £5 a day.
And as we know, I mean, it's been a taboo thing on mainstream, sort of, including media reporters.
I think our buttonhole in the Red Chamberlain at York's had anything to do.
I don't think so. Somehow, I'd love to think that. I'd love to think that might have, but I don't think so. But yeah, the old Mottershead. I'm getting to like Mottershead quite a bit actually. I think he's becoming a pretty good journalist, and probably one of the only ones that...
He's a lot better than he was 10 years ago. He came into this game, I thought it was an absolute arse licker.
Yes, I agree with you. That's why I'm giving him praise, because I think he's starting to really come to the table. And I sort of, if he does an article now in the Post on a weekend, I'm always like reading it. So it must be a good thing. Going on about affordability, so Andrew Rhodes, I've seen a funny video shared by Carn Berry about when he was asked in Parliament about the £40 million that he gave to gambling charities out of the fines that they were fining bookmakers. And all he could answer was, it's listed on the website who we give the money to.
He looked an absolute Tom Munt, didn't he?
Yeah, and he couldn't answer if he thought if the money had been spent wisely. He didn't know where the money had gone. He didn't.
No. Gone to Nigeria. It's all gone to fucking Nigeria and all those charities. Yeah.
Well, that's what happened with the furlough money. Apparently, all this COVID money. Yeah, all the gangsters have had it.
Pakistan, West Africa, all these gambling charities all over there, funnily enough.
Well, funnily enough, the Gambling Commission donated £5,000 to a Canadian gambling charity. I know. I worked that one out. I don't know. But anyway, so what that's got to...
They're all walking around with brown paper bags full of money just as bingo.
Because it's not their... Because it's classic public sector behaviour. It's not their money. No. So they can be as profligate as they like with other people's money. Can you imagine a commercial organisation doing that? Shareholders will be up in arms. You know, what's the return are we getting for this money? You know, how are you going to measure the effectiveness of those donations to these charities? They're not, are they? Just giving it away.
I think that's what's remarkable, though, Chris, regarding all of this. Big organisations, which obviously I've got to respect. The BHA, huge organisation, they run British horse racing. You've got the Gambling Commission that regulate the industry. You've got the BGC, the Bet Gaming Council, that represents supposedly bookmakers and punters, whatever, the actual gambling industry. Not one of these organisations has ever done an impact assessment on affordability checks. No. We've not had data to say what this is going to do. We've had shit data like, it's only going to affect 3% of accounts and all this absolute fucking baloney.
And funnily enough, Lee, not one of those organisations has ever done racing a scrap of good.
No, exactly. Yeah, you know, if I was at the BHA and I knew fuck all about racing, and I've just come in there for the job and the pension, I'd probably just do what they're doing.
Yeah, fucking right. I'll be having sandwiches delivered all day, every day, cut taxi home, the fucking lot, mate. I'd rape it.
Do you not think, though, Lee, really, it would be harder to be this shit at running the sport than it would to just make a half-decent system, which you can do if you went part-time, in all honesty.
But they think they are, John. That's my point. They I bet you any money they genuinely think they're doing a good job. They're trying their hardest. They're working their nuts off. But they've got the best interest of the sport at heart. But they don't know what they don't know, and that's the problem. They're incompetent.
I mean, the comms director, Greg Swift, he's another useful idiot. His CV looks impressive. Oh, I've worked at Number 10 and I've done this and I've got that on my CV. But he's another one, an absolute half-arsed fuckwit that basically...
Larry the cat carried all the stuff at Number 10.
Absolutely.
He's good, him. Yeah. You couldn't afford him, though.
No, you can't. That's it. Larry the cat would be
the price of whiskers. Fucking hell.
Indeed. I mean, this is how we view them. And we don't want to view them like this. We want the sport run properly. And we want the sport run efficiently and to have a plan and a project and to come up with something like unique where you then criticise the way that the Gambling Commission are handling this. Not walk hand in hand down the street, down the Bourneville Boulevard, wanting to take out the bullet. You know, it's you should have an organisation that should not be in bed with Big Corp and the Gambling Commission.
They're like collaborators in Vichy France, aren't they? Yeah. You know, it's all because they give, because they confer some sort of benefits on them. They all pile in. But at the end of the war, all the collaborators were shot or had their fucking head shaved. So they should remember that. Lessons of history of collaborating. This will all go wrong for them. You know, they think they're doing a great job 100%. And they will fail and they will lose out and they will lose their cushy pensions and these organisations will be disbanded and they'll be out in the cold.
Coming on to more things to do affordability, we talk on course. Obviously, we've got a lot of on-course bookmaker listeners and people that ply their trade by doing business on the track, taking cash off real folk, not the online game. And interesting from Star Sports, this was reported from York that their turnover was down quite significantly this year. And it wasn't just down to the train strikes, because they monitored it on a daily basis. And even on the busy day, which was Thursday, we even said that was busy, John. They said that their actual bet struck and turnover was down on the Thursday compared to last year.
It was busy where we were.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There's no bookies there, is there? You know, I mean, how many people that were formerly packing against the rails, haggling over price and wanting the margins and all the rest of it, and now sat at the tables on the champagne lawn, tripods.
What, me and you?
There's others though, wasn't there? You know, I mean, we weren't alone.
Yeah, lucky Blucky. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well,
Star Sports, you know, respected on-course organisation, obviously big presence online. This is sort of not good. I'm a bit worried for the sport, but they did say that they had some lumpier bets than normal, like flying, a few thousands of pounds flying in and stuff like that, which is sort of encouraging. But I mean, is that where we're all going to have to go in future? Do we all have to go on course to have a bet?
it could happen, couldn't it? Either that or we'll go God odds.
Oh yes, gododds.com. There we go. We love that domain. Dr. Andrea Hymas, who, by the way, that's his Twitter handle. I do sort of know him and trust him, so I wouldn't say on the pod otherwise. But God Odds, he's been using for 6 months after being caned by Betfair. Account was kiboshed, and he said he's had no problems. Gets decent sized bets on horse racing, no problem. So this isn't a plug. We've not been sponsored, and I've not got loads of cash from God Odds, but I'm going to try them myself.
He's wearing a T-shirt with God Odds on, drinking out of a God Odds cup, fucking wrapped in a God Odds hat, and they're paying for holiday for him as well next week. Dirty sellout bastard.
This year's Bastard's calendar that comes
out just God Odds
Christmas.
Yeah.
Fry in a God Odds thong.
Fucking right. That just absolutely. No, but if they are listening and they do want to sponsor, like, you know,
no, we can't sell that. We can't sell that. Well, having said that, no, we can sell that to black market.
Yeah, fucking hell, our arse is for sale. Don't forget that.
No, but we actually can.
Yeah, we're less trailed, aren't we? We're allowed black market.
Black market's all game, and I've checked. Well, the producers checked. They've got a Curacao gambling license, so basically, yeah.
Fuck me, yeah. The Dutch Antilles, actually, isn't it? But Curacao. Yeah. Famous also for the first Commerce International Bank, which is still subject to ongoing litigation, which was the biggest money laundering bank in the history of the world. Forget BCCI, FCIB, look that up. Amazing story. And they had a banking license in Curacao as well. So there you go. That's the kind of dough we want to attract. I don't give a fuck where it comes from. Mexico, South America. Come on, let's bring it on.
Get the porky money in. That's what I say.
We do. So this brings us on to another question, right? So James Little Polvey has been on. Is Betfair on the way out? And if so, will another exchange try to fill the void, or will exchange betting disappear completely? James, I predict if the direction of travel, watchword, carries on and we end up in a state where Betfair liquidity is zero, no one can get many bets on online without being vetted by these stupid affordability checks, I predict there will be some Curacao licenses floating about with some black market.
God odds, bet the exchange.
God odds. Well, it's a matter. Well,
remember your betting needs.
In life, when one door closes, another one always opens. And this brings us on to the subject of the future. And how does racing survive? Because the useless BHA think that it's all hunky-dory. As long as they toe the line with the big books and do as they're told, that racing will be funded adequately. They're being led by the Pied Piper. They don't care as long as the racing gets funded. That's about the remit, really. They don't care about anything else within the sport. The predictions are that obviously the black market will thrive, and this is absolutely definite. It's happened since the dawn of time. When America banned alcohol, what happened? The good old Irish whiskey trade did an absolute bomb as they shipped over lots and lots of alcohol from the UK and Ireland to America to the eastern seaboard. As we know, this is absolute bullshit. It's bullshit. It's basically a turd in a dress, and this needs to be sort of stopped in its tracks. It won't be, because we've got idiots running the sport, we've got idiots in Parliament, and this is the issue. Now, if you're interested in this sort of topic, you might want to turn your attention to Tuesday at 10 a.m. on Parliament.tv, where Andrew Rhodes himself will be grilled by the DCMS and other ministers with questions regarding affordability checks. So if he's as useless at answering gambling with lives donations and gambling charities, then it should be interesting to see his take on affordability checks. You can be prepared for some lies and those damn statistics, and it might infuriate you, but it might be worth watching rather than the shit racing on Tuesday. That's one for you to look out for. Solving the sport. I propose then, chaps. This is a bar steward's proposal from me. It might not get seconded or thirded, but would we like to see an on-course, healthy bookmaking market to make sure that there's attendees at the tracks, a tote monopoly off-course, which will fund the sport? So basically, any off-course bets are placed by the tote. Let the black market thrive. Let people just do what they want also on the black market. That basically cements racing's future, doesn't it? Because the tote then gives them the levy to basically fund the sport properly, like in France, like in other places, which is why we're losing so many 3-year-olds abroad. John, Chris.
Insofar as racing is very, very unlikely to have the gumption or the savvy to organise its own person-to-person betting exchange, I think that is the best option, what you just outlined.
Yeah, like you said, the option was years ago to maybe go. So when the tote was for sale, the amazing thing that like the Jockey Club or the BH didn't buy it. I mean, sell a few fucking tracks, you losers, and buy it. Do whatever you have to do. And then you've got the tote, you've got the betting exchange, you've got it all under your roof. And there's nothing Big Corp can do to take it off you. Nothing. Zilch. Niche. Nada. You've got a tote and a betting exchange.
Desperate mistake.
Now imagine the income from a BHA-owned tote and a betting exchange. Astonishing. So they fucked up there. So they've messed up massively there. And then, so like you said, John, failing that, what they should do now, honestly, if I was at the BHA, I would be saying no deal, no contract renewal with NTA and Flutter. No. It's going to be off course, tote only to bet on this sport. That's all that's allowed in this country to fund the levy, and then everyone gets properly funded that invests in this sport, and we don't start selling the best 3-year-old talent to King Kong and Oz, because that's why we're getting shit. Like this year, shit fields, shit races. People moaned about the Juddmonte. Well, the answer is they're all going abroad.
Won't be the Juddmonte next year anyway. It'll be the Goddards.
Yes, that's Goddards for all your betting needs.
It is. Right, before we come on to questions, there's a few more things I want to touch on. Minimum bet rule. Should there be a minimum bet rule with bookmakers? If bookmakers are going to carry on and they're going to get fairer, which isn't going to happen, but if they did, is a minimum bet rule the right way to go down, or do you think that a bookmaker has every right to say, no, I don't want to take a bet from you?
Yeah, I think if their prices are on offer, it shouldn't matter who it's off.
I know, but right. So I'll play devil's advocate. So imagine you've got a fucking selling hurdle at Plumpton. Gary Moore's got first 3 betting.
One's written by an 11-year-old child with an iPad. Right. And it's you know the rest.
Yeah. One's 11 to 10, one's 6 to 4. Others, I don't know, like
And
20s.
the winner's that fucking 25 to 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
What you forget, anyway, these people aren't hamstrung to that. They can put their own prices up.
Well, this is my...
They can swerve horses without barring customers from having a bet on a race.
Well, this is it, right? You know, like, so let's say it's gododds.com.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm in... And I'm... Everyone's going to think we've sold out here.
If they're not listening, don't drop us a few quid. They can't. That's
right. So let's say we're doing odds compilation, and I honestly, as head of horse racing, I would say I ain't pricing that up.
Yeah,
that's that. And when punters say, "Why don't you price that up?" I say, "Well, you price it up."
Yeah,
you cunt.
We look at flapping races where, half the time they smell a problem and they look at it, it's all right, then fuck it, evens each of 5. There you go. Get hold of that.
Yeah.
I bet Goddards don't call the customers.
Well, right. All right.
Evens each of 5. There you are. You want to take evens? There you go.
I mean, look at flapping tracks. I mean, everyone must have been to a flapping track that's probably our age in their lives, and you will see probably 210% on the boards. Because even 6 to 4, 2 to 1, 5 to 2, 3 to 1. The outsider will be about 4s. If you look at
the C4s, 9 to 4s is fucking rag, isn't it?
And it's
that's it. You want to have a bet. It's factoring the prices. We don't know who these dogs are, who trains. We don't know whether it's a fucking A7 dog from a provincial track or a fucking open racer from Walthamstow. So there you go, it's evens. That might be value, mightn't it?
This is it. I don't understand why they don't alter the percentages if you don't want to take bets on an Irish, say, novice hurdle, then simply just make your prices ridiculous, and then your punters will say, well, that's shit, and they'll say, well, we don't want to take a bet on that race. We just don't want to take anything. That's it. If you want to bet, play with them. That's how you do it. That's how the old books of the days used to do it at the dog tracks. Everyone knew if you got a gambling trainer. I used to remember one at Sheffield, Tony McKenna, and he was shit hot, absolutely shit hot. Like if he fancied one, fucking hell, they rarely left it. What you'd do if you smelt a Tony McKenna gamble, you saw the faces line up in the crowd, and you got it sort of 7 or 4 on your tissue, you'd probably put it in at 4 to 5.
Yeah,
because
they'd take it for those.
Yeah, it's still winning all.
5 on chance. So they're a bit disappointed, but fuck it, 4 to 5, still massive fright, and they'd buy it.
But there's nothing to say you even have to put a price up, is there?
No, I mean back in the day, this is before all of a sudden we have to price every race up. There'd be instances where bookmakers only price up maybe 6 or 7 races a day. Yeah. And everything else you'd have to wait for the opening shows, and that's, I don't understand why that doesn't come back, to be honest. But obviously they've got their models, but then, as I said, it's just stripping out the genuine folk. And
if you think the trainers at it, every time they have a run, you could bet without.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd think them anyway, wouldn't you?
Premierisation is this a way of sort of it's just for big corp, isn't it?
It's another load of shit, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. I mean, how would Newton Abbott feel on Saturday starting at 10 a.m?
Racing premierises itself, doesn't it? I mean, just because Newton Abbott was starting the same time as everywhere else doesn't mean anybody watched it.
Yeah.
There's a pecking order anywhere. This is just big corp wanting it from 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 at night, no matter what. It's a load of bollocks. People only have so much time and so much spends, and that does not cover betting from 10 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night.
How is all form book punters going to go on, John? But they're not bothered, are they? That's what I mean. Nobody cares.
Well, what will happen? You'll have to premierise your form study, and then you finish up. You won't be betting at Newton Abbott, and you won't be betting at Exeter.
Yeah, it's like,
Hamilton.
what are they expecting punters to do? And as well, forget punters, what about stable staff and everybody else? So you're starting a meeting at 10 a.m. and people argue, well, you do that in winter anyway, 11 a.m.
Isn't it? You know, the suits don't give a fuck about somebody shoveling shit for a living.
No.
They don't. They'll make some nice noises about it. Oh, yes, the people that work tirelessly to keep the sport on the road. But they don't care, do they? It's just words.
No, it is. Right, question.
Phil Marshall Haig sending everybody over the top.
Although, to be fair, there's been a reappraisal of his contribution to military strategy. And the latest view is he actually wasn't that bad. So I read a book a couple of months ago about it. He wasn't too bad. You Haigists, all of you. Send them over the top.
Yeah, unlike Admiral Rouse and his terrible handicapping system. Wait for it.
That bastard.
No, you shouldn't have said that, Lee. Fucking
He's
fuming now.
Yeah,
the questions gone on the floor now.
Yeah, we love questions, and
I've actually knocked me Godod's drinking cup off.
Is that Godod's, John? Is that for all your betting needs? That's Godod's.com that month.
Yeah.
Gododds.com for all your betting needs.
Now. People will be playing this pod backwards now for all the backwards.
They've sold out. They've sold out. The bastards have finally sold out. Yeah. Gododds.
Quite.
Stephen Thomas has been on. He said, with more and more owners such as Jim and Fitra locating their strings to foreign climates, the doomsayer's prophecy of the UK becoming a feeder nation to other countries looks to be coming true. Can anything be done to stem the tide? No, John?
No.
No.
Other than what we've just suggested with the talk and what have you. The people in key positions lack the will and the intelligence to do it. And so, as things stand, no.
We're fucked, yeah. And it's the same as, like, Stuart Williams said the same thing. The only way you say British racing is pull betting. And you stop people betting with Entei and Flutter. And to be honest, why do you want to bet with Entei and Flutter and Port Vale? Unless you can get plenty on, of course. But it's like, why would you want to bother? It's just, what a waste of time. What are you going to do?
Can you suggest an alternative?
Well, that's it.
Is that Curaçao's nice at this time of year?
Gododds.com.
Yeah. We'll be able. We'll do the next pod from Curaçao on the beach. How about that?
Yeah. Right, the Northern Gamblers have been on. Bookmakers cutting max payouts on multiples, trying to kill the dream. Agreed. This is lower than a snake's belly. But this is what we know they are. The BHA don't know. The BHA think they're awesome. Right, but they are lower than a snake's belly. Not only have they cut, Flutter have cut maximum payouts on multiples on horse racing, they've also anti-post bets as well.
Anti-post. That's terrible. I thought that was just, they sneaked that past everyone, haven't they?
Yeah, 50,000 for like that's to stop your Cheltenham junkies winning $500,000 by putting 7 Willie Mullins horses in and getting the lot. You know, honestly, they are fucking varmints. And this needs to be, again, should be highlighted by people in the industry, the mainstream media.
They should be kicking off like, fuck about that, shouldn't they?
Yeah. I mean, we said this, 2 years ago. They are killing the dream. The UK, if I got into racing because of Clive Holt, fine form as your guide. My father was also a bookmaker, but that was by the by. I love the punting side of it more than the bookmaking side of it. And the fact that you had that dream that you could beat the book. You could do this. And now they're killing every outlet you've got, trying to make a few quid or win a few quid. Put it this way. I mean, look at that, John, that bet that I had with Bet365 back in 2012, 8 yonks ago.
Yeah.
You know, that would have paid like 300 grand if last one would have won. And obviously, them days are done now, because if you look on the terms and conditions, if you include any like Class 6 races in there, it's like, no, limits are fuck. They're just trying to stop your Barney Curleys. They're trying to stop your gambles, stop your people from just basically like having it off. And that, it's disgraceful, to be honest, Northern Gamblers. What can we say? Grace Glover, the Twitter hashtag Grace Woods. Would you rather Anne Diamond or Carol Malone pop up on your Bumble app? Now, that's an interesting one, a Bumble app. I don't know what fucking Bumble was. I had to look at it, and it's a dated app, apparently. Is something endemic stunting the 2 to 3 year old progression? Seems to be problems with Godolphin and Coolmore having stars at 2, then flop at 3.
Is the progression of the Godolphin and Coolmore 3-year-olds something to do with Anne Diamond?
Anne Diamond or Carol Malone? You like Carol Malone?
Are the two separate questions?
I don't know, but they might
inflated both questions, haven't you?
No. That's what the tweet is. That's the whole tweet.
Well, I'm going to say I'd prefer Anne Diamond to Carol Malone because Carol Malone's awful.
If you're on the file, then I suppose, yeah.
And I just think it's been one of those years for horses not progressing, really.
Right, so this is the thing.
Small sample.
Right, so we've had quite a few questions on Appleby. So I thought I'd do a bit of research here.
Yeah.
So Appleby, he's on about par on strike rate on the year, and people are saying, "What's happened? No magic carrots for Godolphin." You're probably right on the carrots. I do think you're right on that. However, what I find interesting, Group 1 winners, John, this year for Appleby. Tell me a Group 1 winner for Apple this year.
Oh, I don't know.
Modern Games, Lockinge.
That was yeah.
That's his only one.
Fucking hell.
Right, and his best finish, other than Modern Games in a Group 1, is Adayar, 3rd in the Prince of Wales.
Right, well.
Yeah, that's it. In UK and Ireland this year, 1 win. And only 2 wins in Group 2.
You'd love to be a fly on the wall at the end of season Godolphin Summit meeting after that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and the 2 winners were Master of the Seas, which they set up at Ascot, as you remember. Yeah. And Hurricane Lane back in May when it won a pretty weak, small field affair, again running a pacemaker. So I think... have a
good back end.
Well, there's a few with good back ends, but anyway. And Diamond. So looking at their roster, Darley's roster, this is the worry there, right? Blue Point, I think, is going to be really crucial to them as a freshman sire. Because I'm going through their roster. It's Cloth of Stars, Cracksman, Jabawi, Earthlight, Far, Gayath, Harry Angel, Ifraj, Massar, Naval, Crown Knight, Thunder, Palace, Pier, Perfect Power, Pinatubo, which obviously hasn't had anything yet, Postponed, an absolute cunt of a sire, producing cunts, Profitable, Ravens Pass, Ribchester, Space Blues, Teofilo, Territories, Too Darn Hot, and Victor Ladorum. I think they're in trouble.
It's not great, is it?
Jabawi's 21 years old, so his spunk's drying out.
Well, I wouldn't know, having not been in the vicinity of Jabawi's spunk. I'll take your word for it.
You take Jabawi's out, for example, I can tell you now the stats. So of the last, well, God knows how many years, Jabawi has given them 1,355 runners, which is literally 4 times the amount of any other sire they've had.
Really spunked, eh?
Yeah, so they absolutely used him.
He's rung out like a Godod's bath sponge.
This is just amazing. The conspiracy theorists are going to be going bananas after this. Personally, I'm going to put it down to their sire roster. It's looking a bit dodgy. If Jabawi goes, I mean, Coolmore was sort of panicking because, I mean, they've got Justify, Wootton Bassett. They've got a few irons in the fire, but Godolphin's strength in depth for me in sires ain't the best.
It's like when Burrenhill only had Merson, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Kind of on its way down. That's my reason for Appleby's thing. He's on the same strike rate, so he's having winners. He's just not training. They're just not, well, they're not clicking at Group 1 level. That's a terrible return. Arabs will look at that and go, that's not acceptable. You got to be winning Group 1s, and they're not. Next question. This is great. Bert Doncaster says, of all the people you've dissed on the podcast, which one would worry you the most if they offered you a straightener? Chris?
Well, that's a tricky one, isn't it? I suppose everyone...
I thought you'd run away, Chris.
Well, yeah, coward. I'm hiding under my good odds fucking bath towel. So I don't know. I don't think about that. crikey, I don't know. I mean,
Rob Davis.
yeah, oh yeah, fucking way about
He'd
it.
bring the fucking hammer, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
Like
That's
Peter
true.
Sutcliffe.
run you over in his fucking lorry, wouldn't he? Yeah.
Oh, John.
Nichols, I think, would be pretty formidable. I think. Don't think you'd want to row with her particularly.
No. She'd have you.
Yeah, I think Megs would be a problem, to be honest.
I'd do this for charity if they wanted to do it. Megs and Stotty tag team. You know, like the old ITV wrestling.
Or against you and Fry or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, probably that, I think.
I think there's a video in part of that, like.
Wouldn't
involve you and Stotty, but
I think the most likely one would probably be, if you ever saw me at races, probably be Icy. I reckon Icy, you'd have to 6 Guinness. I'd love to fucking land one straight on my chops.
that'd be one of them, like, charity events.
Could be, yeah. Problem is, though, it's not fair, is it? I'm like Butterbean, and he's not Butterbean, is he?
That's long, wouldn't it?
I don't think so. No.
I mean, Graham Cunningham likes a fight, doesn't he?
Actually, does Gravy Chain Graham? Yeah. Apparently, he's quite handy. But again, I always said the weight thing, because having sort of fought a jockey in a kangaroo suit once, I was like amazed.
How quick they go down.
Like, well, yeah. So he was like ramming me full pelt, and I let him. He just hit me full pelt, and then I just went doof, and down they went. So weight obviously weight in boxing plays a big part, and yeah, that's I learned that because obviously I've never fought in a ring, so.
I think Graham with the 9 stone disadvantage though. I think he'd sort of keep his distance, pecking and a poking while you were smoking.
Oh yeah. Graham, yeah.
He looked to wear you down, you know.
Yeah, Gravy Train Graham had caused me most problems, I think.
You know, he'd be thinking end of round 2, he'd be sat there and he won't get off his god-odd stool.
Yeah.
You'd have to beat him to death with there, wouldn't you?
I'm going to have to put the Twitter title sponsored by Gododds. Right, Paul Fitzgerald's been on. Have you noticed an increase in horses playing up at the start this year? Well, yeah, there always is that, but our stalls handlers are useless. They don't really there's not enough of them.
I don't think it's increased. I think it's always been shit.
It is. I'll tell you what I have noticed, though. More horses getting walked to the start.
Yeah,
I won't allow it.
That is quite prevalent now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say no to that. I'd say no. If you have to be walked to the start, you can't run.
Yeah.
If the horse won't be galloped to the start, it's a non-runner. That's
right,
that. Yeah, Paul Tompkinson has been on, also noted from the BHA Stewards report, 7 horses lost their shoes during races. 2 at Sandown, 4 at Chester, 2 in the same race, 1 at Chelmsford, and 2 of the 7 were fancied in Lord Bertie at Chester and Lord Protector at Sandown. Thoughts, chaps?
I think they just get reported more nowadays. I think there's always been a problem with shoes flying off.
Is that due to the overwater ground, John?
No, I think it's just due to horses catching their own feet a lot of the time, and once they've done that shoe's coming off, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always gone on. I just think we hear about it more.
No, I just think, again, it highlights how badly the game is sort of run and structured. We all know what needs to happen. We've said we want outriders to stop loose horses delaying races by 15, 20 minutes. That provides jobs for the economy, for the local economy. It possibly retired racehorses gives them a job. It's all good. It's all good. So, and obviously it increases safety for all the people watching it and participating in the sport. Obviously, horses crash through rails. We've had incidents where horses have crashed into crowds before through rails. And if you've got outriders, you're limiting the chance of this happening. So that's something they could improve on. But again, if you're not funded properly, which they're not, and this is big corps where they're taking us down the old ground racing route where we'll just run it as cheaply as possible, put as much shit on as possible. This is what we're going to be dealing with. So, yeah, it's not really a positive show, but is it ever a positive show on Bar Stewards? It's very difficult taking on the powers that be with all their absolute farce of policies in terms of trying to improve British racing, which they don't. They're pretty clueless as well, which doesn't help. So, anything that we have not covered, John? Any other questions I've missed that you can notice?
Can't think of any off the top of my head.
No, I think that will do. So we've chewed the fat. Hope you like share.
What we should do in future weeks is get a Godod's notepad and tick them off as we go.
And of course, this show has been brought to you by gododds.com. Bye for now.